Hey guys, Isabel here. Welcome back to Railed In. So I think I've given you guys a good enough time to watch the newest Marvel movie, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. And today in this video, I thought I'd do a quick review on it. This will not be a spoiler-free review, so if you haven't seen it, make sure you go watch it. It's really a great movie and deserves all the love. The actors all did a great job, and the storyline is complex, and it's honestly just really fun to watch. I saw it twice in theaters already. The first time I was trying to memorize what I had to say about it, and then there was that whole scene with the demon thing at the end in the water and Shang-Chi himself, and I completely just lost track of everything I was trying to keep hold up there because it's just such an amazing scene. I just was blown away by it. But when I saw it the second time, I brought my handy dandy book. Isn't it cute? It's Lord of the Rings. In Mordor! But I was writing my notes in the dark, and it's actually kind of funny because I couldn't see what I was writing. Just look at that. It's all squished and scrambled. But I will decipher it. Now, the reason why the movie Shang-Chi is so important and kind of a history maker is because it is actually the first Asian American superhero. And it has a mostly Asian cast. I think I maybe saw like 3 characters that weren't Asian. So in a weird way, I will compare it that way to Raya and the Last Dragon, the relatively new Disney movie that came out, which is also great. You can check my review up there. But that being said, I liked how the whole introductory narrative, or the first basically 10 minutes of the movie that sets up the plot, is actually told in the Chinese language. So you're listening to the mom of Shang-Chi basically speak in Chinese and you're reading the subtitles, which I actually liked a lot more, and I think it added more to the mystique of it for people who are not native born Asian American or Asian, which is not something it has to do, but I just think it was kind of neat, and I'm glad that instead of them telling it in English, they did it in where it takes place, China. Now, I am by no means an expert in Chinese mythology or kung fu or anything like that, but in the first 10 minutes of this movie, when they're showing how Shang-Chi's mom and Shang-Chi's father fell in love, basically, and met, I feel like the whole thing of Ta Lo might actually be based on an ancient Chinese myth. And not only the area, but the thing with the moving forest and even some of the creatures we eventually see in Ta Lo. Also, dragons. Did I mention dragons? Because they have dragons. And if you need any more incentive to see this movie, if you want to know the vibe for it, and because you haven't seen it, it's basically James Cameron's Avatar, with the blue people, one of the biggest sci-fi movies ever. Avatar: The Last Airbender, not the movie, the animated TV show, and of course all these old and even now modern kung fu movies or taekwondo movies or any martial art movie. Mix that all into one and you basically get the vibe of Shang-Chi. Now, I enjoy all 3 of these franchises, plus Marvel, of course, because it's a Marvel movie. So that was also one of the things I liked, is that it was something new, but the vibe was also familiar because it's stuff that I have seen or seen something close to it before. So I think that's also a reason why this movie is such a success, because it had great Labor Day box office sales, and it deserves them. Another theme I also noticed in this movie was the theme of energy flow. There is a lot of Tai Chi going on, especially in reference to the mother when she's teaching. She actually teaches her children Tai Chi, but it also sets up the mother and father meeting through a sort of energy flow dance. And I liked how on first meeting, we see that yes, the father is very powerful, but is easily defeated by the mother as she uses his energy against him, which, if you are an Avatar: The Last Airbender fan, is how the water tribe are able to waterbend. Well, not everyone in the water tribe, but the lucky ones. Also, I just have to give a special shout out to Aquafina. I love her. I think she's so funny, and I'm so glad that she was in this movie and that she had a prominent and big role. So proud of her. I feel like she's definitely moving up in the world, and you know, she's also doing her own stuff, which is awesome. And I don't know her, I've never met her or anything. She doesn't know who I am, but I'm super proud of her, and I can't wait to see more of her. And Simu Liu, Shang-Chi himself, also did an amazing job. Did you guys know he was an accountant? Who knew he had such amazing talent underneath it? Another thing I liked about this movie is that it portrayed, I personally think, a great male and female friendship. And that's something you don't actually get to see a lot in movies. Usually the very close female-male friends always end up together. But I liked how they still stayed best friends and that they were always there for each other, no matter what. No matter what secret came to light, they never left each other. Now there is a scene in this where they're talking about the snap from Thanos, because this movie takes place after everyone has returned after Endgame. And basically one of Katie's friends, Katie's played by Aquafina, Shang-Chi's best friend, and amazing archer too, by the way. But one of Katie's friends is basically telling her she has to grow up because half the people could disappear in a second. And then Katie gets this really interesting look on her face, like someone she knew, like a family member or a friend got snapped, or maybe even herself. That was one thing that wasn't really like discussed too much, is like who in this movie got snapped. I'm assuming the Mandarin himself did not, or maybe did get snapped, because if he did get snapped, I feel like he would definitely try to, you know, expand his bounds and take over part of the world. But then another part of me is like, well, maybe he did get snapped. I don't know. That was a question I would have liked to have answered. Also, another thing that I just thought was funny for me personally, because I am a science major, is when Katie and Shang-Chi are on the bus and there is a student writing her dissertation for a research paper on her laptop, and eventually the laptop gets like cut in half by this magical heat sword thing, and the girl is like so heartbroken, and I was like, I feel you, girl. I would have been heartbroken too, all that hard work. But that bus scene was action-packed, amazing, and hilariously funny. All the great combinations. Although what I did think was kind of funny is that there was like, for like a San Francisco bus, there was maybe like 8 people on it, and there was like almost no one on that bus. But another theme I saw for this movie was a theme that I'm just gonna say as being a comparison of artificial power versus natural power. If you want to go back to the mom and the father I think is an artificial power. He actually is not powerful on his own. He gets his power from the 10 rings. And you can see it even, I guess, inseminates within his veins. So like, if that doesn't say artificial, I don't know what does. But then compare that to the mother, who gets her power from the land around her, and the Great Protector, which is a dragon, by the way. Dragons, so you know. Dragons are in the MCU, just so you know. But I would associate that as being a more natural power. It is not something she takes, it is given to her, and in the end, it seems natural power actually is stronger than artificial power. I also liked how they, you know, I think they portrayed an accurate sister versus brother relationship, like a very accurate sibling relationship. Not gonna lie, I don't usually watch too many trailers because I like actually being surprised when I go to the movies, and I don't like things being kind of revealed because I think trailers nowadays reveal a bit too much. But so I don't know if the sister was revealed to be in the trailer or not, but they were holding her close to their chest, because she made the storyline so much more like I was much more invested knowing that she was also in the storyline. And also adding her into the storyline created another comparison. Basically, I forgot his name. I'm really bad with any names at all and remembering them, but the Mandarin taught Shang-Chi, therefore Shang-Chi is the embodiment of, at first, artificial power, but the sister, who was not allowed to train with the boys, learned on her own and learned how to do it better. Therefore, that's more of a natural power because she took it upon herself to not only learn what they were doing, but improve upon it, and therefore adding her own natural ability into it. So I just liked how they did that. Also, Abomination and Wong are in the movie. I know they were in the trailer and everyone was looking forward to seeing them, and we were like, why is he stuck in this cage fighting the Abomination. I think the Abomination is going to be in a future MCU movie. I think that was heard. I forgot which one he's going to be in, but I think that was a thing. So, not too sure. Someone fact checked me on that in the comments. But it's found out that basically Wong and Abomination were actually training. It seems they used this fighting ring to train Abomination's focus and his power and to make him like a better fighter. And that Wong and Abomination are not enemies, but actually a teacher/student kind of scenario. When they're leaving the ring, Wong opens I think those are called, I'll call them a gateway, to what looks like a laboratory. Now, in the Incredible Hulk movie, Abomination does get defeated by Hulk. And I've only seen that movie once, so I feel like he definitely injected himself with something to become Abomination. Don't really remember. But of course, I'm sure it has to do with gamma radiation, I think. So that would be interesting, and maybe in the No Way Home trailer when Wong actually goes somewhere with packed bags, maybe he's going to this area and meeting up with Abomination for either the first time or maybe the nth time. Who knows? But I just found that super interesting. Another theme I found in this movie is definitely a theme of reflection, which is also an interesting camera trick they did a lot. So if especially during fight scenes and action scenes, they'll focus on it through a reflection, and then eventually they'll pan or come out of the reflection into the actual fight going on. Now this could mean, because there also is a bit of a theme of finding your inner self and knowing who you are inside. So the whole reflection could kind of be when the scene is shown through the reflection, it's kind of that's not who Shang-Chi is exactly, or he's witnessing something that is sort of adding to him stepping further away from who he truly is, and I guess making the wrong decisions. I am not too sure about that, but if you guys notice that theme and you have your own thoughts, let me know in the comments what you think of that. Also have to say, the music, also the score, was great, and I can't find it anywhere to listen to it. I can only find the actual singing parts, music song parts of it, and I just want the instrumental score. That's it. That's all I want. Also, leaving your sibling for dead because he left you a long time ago, love it. And as much as I love this movie and give super high praise for it, I will say that the way the backstories were set up was pretty convenient. Every time you needed a new piece of information, this kind of actually long backstory was given to you. And I like the backstories. I think they're cool, but I do think they're a little bit plot convenient. Also, a part of me is I cannot believe they put Trevor, who portrayed the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, that they put Trevor as a decent role in this movie. He was definitely the comic relief character, but I was why is he in here? I don't know. I had never ever thought about Trevor ever again after we saw him in Iron Man 3. But it was kind of interesting to see him, but also did not expect it. Also, Morris, love him. The creature with no face and the chicken wings, the pig, chicken, whatever Aquafina / Katie called him. But him also is a bit plot convenient as well, as being able to find Tao Lo, because he's from there, But the actual city of Tao Lo reminded me a lot of James Cameron's Avatar movie. The way the creatures were designed and just the overall pure natural state of everything. Also, and I may be wrong, and if I am, I'm sorry, but I believe that what looked like to be lions, I believe were actually called Chinese faux dogs, but they were so fluffy, and I just wanted to give them a hug. And during the whole battle scene, the whole time I was if anything happens to them, I will riot. But nothing did, because they're very powerful and amazing. Another thing I did like is when Shang-Chi and his sister and Katie finally arrived at Tao Lo, which is the birthplace basically of his mother. His aunt greets them and she hugs the sister first, which I liked a lot, because I feel for most of her life until she ran away, she was always being treated as second, especially after her mother died, by her father and maybe even by everyone else in the father's compound. And I just thought it was really nice that her aunt hugged her first and recognized her first. So I thought that was really nice. Also, another thing that was really weird was that the whole point is that like there's this demon hidden away at the edge of Taolo in like a mountain, and this demon thing wants to be freed, and so taking up the voice of Shang-Chi's dead mother basically lures their father to release it. And the voice, to know it's fake, the voice sounds very like as if you were hearing it over like an airport PA kind of thing, like very robotic a little bit and like kind of auto-tuned. So like good job on letting us know that's fake that way. But like how does it like know to replicate that? And how does it replicate that? You know, this demon is like a soul eater. Does that mean that it has eaten somehow or taken up somehow like her soul? I feel like there was a lot of things about this creature that would have been kind of cool to know more about. We kind of just got a basic like backstory. Like where does the creature come from? How did it gain power besides just eating all the souls? So I feel like I kind of would have liked a bit more on that, but you know, not too big of a thing. One thing that I liked a lot is that, you know, as I said earlier, a lesson in transfer of energy. Just because you have physical power, you might be physically stronger than other people, does not mean you will always win. Which is why I liked Shang-Chi basically learning how his mother's martial art style and the martial art style of Taolo, which is basically using your enemy's force against themselves. And they show with a direct comparison because when Shang-Chi and his father are fighting, they use the exact same moves as when his mother defeated the Mandarin. So I liked that how Shang-Chi basically was taught from a very early age to harness, you know, artificial power and power by your muscles and like a little bit from your mind, but he learned that that is not the only way to use a martial art style, and he discovered one that uses his own energy and the energy flow throughout the world and his body and the universe and everything else energy flows through. So that itself was very Avatar: Last Airbender. I really liked it. And they literally depict the martial art as a dance. So there's movement and energy, and it's not stiff and rigid as his father's style seems to be. Also, I just gotta say, the whole situation with the mother's death is like kind of weird. Like you have this other crime boss and he like comes to your home in the middle of the night and he's kind of like, oh, a long time ago your husband killed my people. And then she's like, oh well, I'll leave the children alone and I'll just sacrifice myself. And it's like, girl. And there's like 6 men and all of a sudden like 8 more come in when she's ready to like also kind of put up a fight. And then it's like, okay. Although I guess it does show that like, you know, a mother's sacrifice. And that's kind of also what Shang-Chi's father is unable to do for most of the movie is, you know, not to death, but sacrifice a part of himself, which is the 10 rings for his family. And there's a whole thing with like, you know, a mother's love, and you can compare that to the Harry Potter franchise, which is how Harry is always protected because of, you know, the love his mother had for him and the sacrifice she made. So there are a lot of little things I saw, you know, from other franchises just put in here, which is cool. Also, did I mention dragons? One thing I did like also is that this was a water dragon before the whole westernization took place and turned the dragons into fire-breathing dragons. Ancient Chinese mythological dragons were actually able to control and manipulate water. So I thought that was a cool detail that they used in this as well. What I also thought was interesting is that this, in a way, like this movie is also about family, and that even though this is very much a dysfunctional family and a broken family, there still is, you know, somewhere deep down, some form of love between, you know, everyone in the family. And I liked how the villain being the father, like, even though he was a very bad dad, he still did love his family, and that his motivations were based off of grief, which is one of like the villain tropes and everything, but it's not one that I've seen in a while, especially in the MCU. Well, until recently, the whole Phase 4 is about grief, to be honest. Another thing I thought interesting was that the souls, when the soul eaters were sucking up people's souls, had a lot of different colors, which I can take to mean as the soul is comprised of a lot of different parts. And it also reminded me of in Avatar Last Airbender, where the dragons show Aang and Zuko what firebending actually is, and they have all the colors because it's not just one singular flame of power kind of thing. And like I said, with how his father was not able to sacrifice himself, he finally was able to. He sacrificed himself entirely, also by giving the rings to his son. So like he did have one little last act of good, even though he caused literally all this trouble. But that was nice, I guess. And I just have to say, like I said earlier, that whole scene with Shang-Chi and riding the dragon and defeating the Soul Eater was just like, I felt pretty powerful watching that. I feel like I could, do all this stuff, and he's falling from like this huge height through water, so there's this shearing going on, and it's just amazing. Visually amazing. But by the end of the movie, Wong comes back and basically, without saying those words, but basically tells Shang-Chi and Katie that they are officially kind of Avengers. They'll at least be on speed dial for all the other Avengers. But basically, in the mid-credits scene, Wong is taking a very detailed look at Shang-Chi's rings. And why Doctor Strange himself isn't doing this, I'm not sure. Maybe because there's a theory going around that that's not the real Doctor Strange in the No Way Home trailer. But anyways, I did notice that the way the rings were broken apart upon a closer inspection looked very similar to the spell Doctor Strange made in the No Way Home trailer. In this mid-credit scene is Bruce as Bruce and not the Hulk. I was under the impression that after Endgame, he was going to be staying as enlightened Hulk, basically Hulk, but with Bruce's mannerisms and doesn't get angry, even though he's angry all the time. But he is back in his human form. His arm is in a sling, which is after he snapped everyone back into existence at the last 30 minutes of Endgame. Also in this mid-credit scene is Captain Marvel. As they are inspecting the 10 rings, we discover that a beacon has been released to whatever or whoever. And as this is said, Captain Marvel's warning system beeps. So I wonder if those two are related or if that was just her exit from the scene. But when they're showing the beacon being activated, they zoom in on it and it looks actually like human neurons or something similar. So I wonder if this is not a place that's been called, but maybe a human, or not a human, but a person, a being of some sort. The Eternals movie will be coming out relatively soon this year or early next year. And maybe that also has correlation, especially with the Celestials. And in the end credit scene, we get a notice that the 10 rings will return. And with the mid-credit scene showing that they are trying to figure out what exactly the 10 rings are, maybe 10 Rings 2 or Shang-Chi 2 will be about the origins of the 10 rings and how their power actually works and all you can do with their power. Also in this end credit scene, it is shown that Shang-Chi's sister basically has taken over her father's compound, whether she wants to be the new leader of the 10 rings or perhaps reopen her dark web fighting ring remains to be discovered. I think it's the fighting ring, but I think there's also another part of it that we are not privy to. But basically there are a lot of girls training and also men. So maybe she's opening up a training sesh for girls around the world. That part did remind me of Black Widow and all the widows training together, so correlation, maybe not. Well guys, that was my review for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Overall, I would give it a 9.5 out of 10, so a 95%. I really enjoyed it. I love mythology things, so anything that includes any sort of mythology like that or history as it did is automatically good in my opinion. But the acting was amazing. They could not cast more perfect people for this. And I'm glad that it gets to showcase the representation that the Asian community deserves. I mean, even though it did have a lot of plot convenience in certain points, I still thought the storyline was very good. And honestly, I could rewatch that many times. Like, I enjoyed Black Widow very much, but, you know, there's only so much I can watch of Black Widow at one time. So, at one point, I watched it 3 times in a week, and I was like, okay, I'm done for that now. But I have seen Shang-Chi twice, and I would honestly love to see it again. Well, guys, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings has officially been reeled in. Leave a like on this video, comment what did you think about the movie. If you are Asian American or Asian and you saw this movie, how did you feel about it? Let me know. It would make you happy, sad, angry, whatever. Or did you just watch it because you wanted to watch a fun movie? That's also cool too. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click that notification bell so you know when I upload future reaction and analysis/review/breakdown videos. If you want to watch my review for the Black Widow movie, you can check the description section down below. Well guys, that's all I've got for you today. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.